Hi everybody, this is Brazy. Welcome to a Speak Your Truth video blog. Judge Jared Blaisie, the Attorney General, has turned the state of Queensland into an absolute fear state. I think it might be getting ready for the TPP, or the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is being brought in or agreed to in around the month of October, but finalised in December. But a little bit more of that later. He's bringing in laws at the moment. He's having a war on the people. He's bringing in laws that make Hitler proud. He's having a go at sex offenders, bikies. He's having a go at parents. He's having a go at children. He's having a go at people in sporting clubs, book clubs, informal and formal associations, workplaces, even people carrying their groceries down the road. It's quite an extraordinary event. I want to go through some of the laws that he's actually brought in the last 60 days and work out why he's actually doing this to us. But first of all, have a look at this guy. I want to try and understand why this guy is actually bringing these laws in. Now, the first sort of laws that he's brought in are known as the new criminal bikie laws, or the VLAD laws, which stands for the Vicious Lawless Associate Disestablishment Act. Now, it's quite disturbing. It's been drafted in haste, and then some are saying it's a sort of a knee-jerk reaction to a problem that it is occurring in Queensland. And the scariest part of it is they don't actually mention the word bikies or motorcycle gang anywhere in this actual act. And that, considering his whole goal is to stamp out bikies, is really disturbing. Not to mention the fact that they are going after a minority, and that is a very, very slippery slope to start targeting minorities, but then not mentioning them in the actual act. The actual laws apply to any association or business that has 3 or more people in it. And it's so broad that any workplace, any sports club, any book club for that matter, or formal or informal association can be targeted or deemed a criminal organisation. Now, what worries me though is that politicians like Jared Blaisie, he can now decide what a criminal organisation is. Penalties that this act has brought in for your criminal organisation is you get 6 months, right, for going to your meeting place for your criminal organisation. You get, that is 6 months in jail. You get 1 year in jail for any sort of assault on a police officer, just no questions asked. If you're associated to any sort of organisation that is deemed a criminal organisation, then you get immediately, for any sort of assault, and I assume that includes, literally yelling at a police officer or even touching a police officer, you just get 1 year in prison. You also get 15 to 25 years automatically attached to any sort of criminal conviction that you might do. What if you're out there trying to stop coal seam gas, and you're a group of people or an association that wants to stop the trucks actually going in and destroying our water and our agriculture for the next 1,000 years? What if you actually care about your children and you actually care about the country? Well, what happens if the riot police turn up like they have done in the past? And what happens if there's an agent provocateur like we've seen in overseas, we've seen when the G20 summit meets, which is going to meet in Brisbane? What happens if a police officer or somebody gets assaulted, which tends to happen when riot police are brought in? Then you could be deemed a criminal organisation, or a group, or a criminal group, or a group that just has any sort of criminal intent. And to me, this is where it becomes a very, very grey area. And then if any of you could all get a year in prison just for trying to go to a protest, or if you get convicted of anything, you could get 15 to 25 years added to your sentence. It is a very, very cheeky way for the corporations to literally wipe out any form of protest. What worries me though is the media hype. First of all, the media have come out in the last few days. Have a look at this article. Campbell Newman, the Premier of Queensland, he's saying, I want to force the magistrates to enforce these laws. He is definitely a bikie. He's definitely belongs to a bikie gang because he has tattoos on his face. Now, when the magistrate comes out and says, oh, look, I can't prove beyond reasonable doubt that this guy definitely is a bikie, and lets him have bail, they then say, no, you have to enforce these laws. It's like Sieg Heil, Sieg Heil. And you have to do what Himmler and Hitler says. It's very, very disturbing. But what really blows my mind is the way Campbell Newman is saying, I need to put these laws in place and you magistrates need to enforce these laws immediately because I need to protect Queenslanders. It's for your own protection. Man, where have we heard this story before? I think personally that these laws are poorly written. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction. I think they're draconian. And I just think overall they're plain dangerous because they are so broad. And I agree with the Queensland Law Society president when she said the whole lot needs to be scrapped because they are effectively very, very dangerous. But wait. There's still more. He's been up to all sorts of dramas. Have a look at this article. So Jared Blazey is targeting sex offenders. Now, you might think that's okay, right? It might be, okay, well, I don't like bikies and I don't like pedophiles. So if Jared Blazey wants to go after them, I'm happy for him to change all the laws. Jared is saying that I'm going to lock you up for the rest of your life at my discretion. So Jared Blazey is saying, I'm effectively a politician. The MP from Kawana is now going to decide who goes to prison for the rest of their life. And they don't get the chance to try and bring in evidence. You know that thing called evidence? They don't get the chance to go to the Supreme Court and actually get heard by a number of judges and let them look at some evidence and let them make a decision. All of that is thrown out the window. You just get sent to prison for the rest of your life, and a politician, you know, politicians, those people that are funded into their position by corporations, yeah, they now decide your life for the rest of your life. Now that has got corruption written absolutely all over it. What he's effectively saying is, let's get rid of separation of powers altogether. You know how you've literally got the executive branch or the politicians that can pass the laws because it's apparently what we want, yeah, right? And then the judges interpret the laws. I mean, have a look at Obamacare right now. It's very important that Chief Justice has come out and made an interpretation. Otherwise, we would be in all sorts of trouble. I think it's important that you have the judges actually play their role because there's evidence that they will see that we don't even know about. But now we've got a politician, you know, the MP from Kawana, he's now the expert. He's going to decide the rest of the natural life of all of these individuals. And I think that is a bit of a concern. And once again, the media, they want to enforce these rules. Effectively, Scrambles Newman, the Premier of Queensland, has said, you're either with me or you're with the pedophiles. Now, where have we heard something very similar to that? And again, he's saying, I can only protect the lives of all the Queenslanders if you give me absolute judgment and power. This is starting to sound very, very scary. And these laws were all brought in at exactly the same time. So again, it's whole idea of it's for your protection. The TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, if this was agreed to in October, effectively, there's big meetings during the APEC summit, etc., etc. It was basically, the chatter is, it's the reason Abbott was brought into power because he will agree to it, whereas Labor weren't really keen on it. Now, Queensland is a Liberal landslide state, so it could be the place that they're trying to get us ready to be able to introduce this TPP. So what exactly is this TPP, this Trans-Pacific Partnership? Well, the overall ideology behind it is they want to be able to erode the nation states' laws in favour of corporate profits, which is a really, really scary idea, isn't it? Now, they do this with these extrajudicial tribunals. Now, corporations have effectively been given the same rights as nations. Remember, they used to just have the same rights as a human being, but they didn't have a soul? Well, now these soulless entities have got the same rights as corporations. Have a look at this article. So corporations can actually sue another country, but the country, it can't sue the corporations. Now, they do this in these investor state dispute settlements, or ISDSs. They're like kangaroo courts. Now, the reason a corporation would want to sue a country is if a corporation feels that the nation's laws endangers its possible or future profits. So if they think that you've got some sort of law in some area that's going to stop it making profit, then they can go to these courts, these ISDS courts, and they can sue you and actually take your tax money. Now, the areas that they're going to be able to sue you in, right, which they're agreeing to right at the moment in total secrecy, is workers' rights. There go our unions. The environment, hello CSG. The internet privacy or freedom. Okay, and you've also got your medicine costs. So apparently it's literally been written by Big Pharma so that we can't get any cheaper medicines. We've got to keep paying them top royalties. And of course, financial regulation. They want to start stripping that away. Where the banks, etc., need to be more regulated. That's what caused this global financial crisis. They want to be able to walk into countries and start to strip them away. So, for example, if you're a tobacco company and you come to Australia and you've got, we've got green packaging, we've got excise taxes, we've got areas you can't smoke, we've got age limits. We don't even put, for example, ashtrays in cars because it promotes smoking in cars. Well, a tobacco company can just say, you know what, this is impeding on my profits because it's stopping people smoking in different areas. I'm going to sue you. And the government can either say, well, I'll get the people's tax money and we'll pay you for the profits that you're missing out on, or they will fold. And let's face it, these politicians are being paid for by corporations, so they will bring in this Trans-Pacific Partnership and they will also fold. Now, if they do have to pay these corporations, just think about it. They will literally be sending us further into debt, which will make the bankers even happier. And this is really scary. So how does this all relate back to all of these new laws which are being brought into Queensland? Well, go back to that original idea I had about the coal seam gas protesters. Now, if the corporation decides, well, I want to be able to sue that group because they're stopping our trucks from coming in, or they're stopping us from, the protesters are stopping us for a month to be able to put our drilling into the ground. Okay, well, we're going to sue you for the profit that we could be making for $50 million. So effectively, they can get their money that they say they might have made. All right. So what does the government do? Well, it doesn't want to have to pay that money. So it can turn around and it can say, well, you're now breaking the law, and they can make them a criminal organisation under the bikie laws. Okay, and they can then say, we're going to give you 1 year in prison, all of you, plus 15 to 25 years. And of course, the people will actually fold. So they're almost turning Queensland into a cotton plantation, where there is one boss being the corporations, and then you've got all these other little bosses, which are basically the politicians, who are going to run around and make sure that we are the slaves that are ready to do whatever the corporations do. We are effectively the guinea pigs who are going to buy their product, but we're also going to be the slaves that are going to make their products as cheap as possible for us to purchase, and also so that we don't get paid very much. I mean, this is really a crazy idea. And it's like we are a breeding ground now, as Gerald Celente says, for the multinationals to be able to come in completely unhindered, and a place where they can do their business and make maximum profits at the people's cost. This is a totally scary situation. Love to have your opinion. This is Brazy. Thanks a lot for your time.